Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey podcast. My name is Jacob Dahlin. First time repeat guest, Urban Omark from episode 11. Welcome back.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
Fun to be back.
Yeah, so we got there was so much more to talk about in our last episode, and we're not going to go back and do too much introduction of Urban. So if go back to episode 11, and you can hear all about his upbringing in Övertorneå and Orkoldsvik. But I want to jump right into, so we're going to pick, I'm going to ask a question here, and that is a little bit controversial, especially on the heels of the World Juniors. What's the problem with Swedish junior hockey?
That's a big question, really big question. And I don't think it's not lots of problem there. But as always, when you talk about development, it's not right or wrong. It's about you have to find a way to getting better, and that can change all the time. You have to adjust everything every time to get better, and it's like a team or a player, or it's Swedish hockey totally.
Yeah. So I had this conversation recently with a couple of guys in that work in player development in the North American Hockey League, and we were comparing the Swedish model versus the U.S. model. So you have the U.S. model that has the NTDP, the National Development, whatever it's called. I forget what the training and development program that you can't argue with the talent that it's produced. So it takes the top talent from all over U.S. It's a focused program through every district, into the regionals, into the national camps, and then they qualify to come into the National Training Development Program, which I think is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And that produces every year first-round draft picks that go straight into that goes into the NHL. But the interesting conversation we were having was, well, in Sweden, you have 23 sort of NTDPs. That is the academies in high school or in gymnasium that is called the NIUs. So they thought, wow, that's a much better program because now, instead of just focusing on one, you now have 23.
Yes, but it's, as always, you have the pluses and the minus. And in Sweden, I look at USA, what they're doing, and look something they have that we don't have, and that's because that program gives you the environment must be awesome, like to compete every day against the best guys in the country, and the level of the guys who learn. That's, I think, a big win. Is every guy is so talented and learn fast, and that's the biggest thing to develop fast. The faster you learn things, you can take the next step, and then you get all the guys with you. That's not when you have 23 different. It's the top is not that good in 23 places, because it should be number one in the same then, and the bottom level is much lower, so you can't move forward in your progress that fast. And
well, it would be interesting. I haven't had this opportunity, but it would be interesting just to peep into the level of competition in practices on and off the ice for those guys in NTDP. And I would imagine that is much higher than what it is intra-squad, so to speak, within the Swedish system. Another big difference, though, is so in the Swedish system, the guy that goes from, so he's at a local level and he is choosing now to go into hockey gymnasium. So he is 15 years old and he is recruited and he goes into one of the top programs. Is the opportunity and perhaps also the problem of getting pushed up too fast, too soon. So they are the best player at the U16 or J18 level before gymnasium. Now he goes to a NIU and he goes into J18 or may not even play at all at the J18 level, goes straight into J20 and maybe not even play more than 1 year in J20 and go straight into Allsvenskan or SHL. And he's never got to be the top dog.
Yeah, and that's like the normal thing what's happening in Sweden right now, I think. And that's why I don't think we get the most creative guys that level they could be, because they don't get that big role, the big minutes to be the king shit in their team. Like if I watched back in time Conor McDavid or now Bedard, like they score like 3 points a game in average whole season, and those guys getting really good to make the last shot, make the last pass. And when I look back at it in Sweden, I can't find any player who played a whole season like that. And I find Peter Forsberg who made like 102 points in 39 games. Otherwise, it's like you do that for a couple of games and then you move up. And then your points get lower. You don't get that self-confidence to be invincible in all situations. And when you feel you're invincible, you're going to be a really good player. That's I'm convinced of that.
So let's go there a little bit, because I think since you are from Orkoldsvik and MODO, or you spend a lot of time within that organization. So let's use, of course, I mean, everybody talks about Peter Forsberg and Marcus Naslund, but sure, he had the opportunity to play at that level, and there was a good example. He played at the junior level, but then he also got to play at the senior level, but he got to be, but he was also pushed at the junior level because he had Marcus Naslund and others that they competed every day in practice as well.
Yeah, they have a perfect like environment. They have lots of goods. If you compare to the US, they have the top members in Swedish hockey, like born 73, and then you have a couple of good guys 74 and 75 as well. But you have lots of really good players in the same age. So we have got a top environment. You played a lots of minutes, score lots of points, and you have the push to play like with the senior team some games. And at that time, many games you could sit on the bench but you was in that environment and see the better guys play and learn. And still to be a good hockey player, you have to watch lots of hockey, and to sit on the bench and watch the big guys play and how they talk, how they do everything, you get a really good school to be a good hockey player.
So let me dig into that a little bit too, though, is here lies another big problem within Swedish junior hockey. Is it better? Are you getting better coaching automatically when you're moving up? Or are you getting better coaching at the junior level for that player? So meaning this person, when they stay down, they get better. They actually get a better coach for that player than when they move up. Or is it the opposite? When they move up, they now have access to being coached by an even better coach. What is your opinion?
I think overall, the coach role, I think we make it a little bit too big in some way. How you can impact on a player, because for sure you can coach a player. But I think the environment is much more important, because my belief is that the player must want to be a hockey player. The coach can't tell you to be a hockey player.
Of course,
you have to have the drive to be that guy and have the belief and everything. That's more important than which coach you have. And the fun thing is, if you are that player, like you are the best player, it doesn't matter. I think the coach has a smaller role in that player, because you get a more free role. The coach will not tell you, do this, do that. You can make mistakes. You can, because you are the best player and you're going to win the game for the team. So
as long as you are in an organization that allows you to get good coaching collectively, meaning systems and facilities and diet and load and recovery and video reviews and all that kind of stuff. What's the most important, what I'm hearing you say is be in an environment that nurtures your mental capacity rather than the educational part.
Yeah, because I've seen lots of, like Elias Pettersson, he become a pretty good player and a really talented guy. And I was his opponent at that time when he came, and he was like small guy. I didn't recognize him at all in the beginning of the season, but it didn't take long before what the fuck, who is that guy? Because he stood out so. And the environment he came from was not what I heard, like top notch. But he and then Dahlén came to from Hårdesjö. I think Jonathan came to Timrå, and they got a pair who competed hard, loved to be on the ice and compete, and they helped each other, and it went really good. So, like I said before, it's no right or wrong. It's like what fits you. But if you're going to be creative, you can't have someone who close your limits all the time.
Yeah.
Then you're going to think, I can't do that.
So you're in a position, and you have been for a number of years, where you're looking at, even look at yourself, where you came from Övertorneå,
yeah,
versus someone that grows up in the city. They have different environment, they have different upbringing, they have different cultures, they have different values. People and kids are different, and players are different, and they have different family dynamics and these type of things. So players are different. And how much time are we spending in actually developing the relationship with these players, where we get to know who they are, to then put them in the right environment to succeed? Versus, man, I'm looking at your stats at U16 level, and you had, 1.5 points per game, so you will be a great fit here.
Yeah. And that's really hard to have a good answer at. But in some way, that's the problem with hockey, is it's so wide. Like, you have to have a lot of things to be successful. But at the same time, you have to know what's the most important thing for me to be the best player. What shall I work with? Do you have like myself was, no one needed to tell me to practice, or you have to do like those things. My biggest issue as a player was the coach who said you have to play simple, because I'm pretty black and white in how I, not as much today as I was like in the younger age, but when you have that black and white and said play simple, play simple for me was, okay, I can't do anything. It was like, okay, I have the puck, just play it at the board. Like boring. And for example, can I describe when I was a kid, I had problem with my throat, and I called my mom and said, what should I do? My mom said, drink a lot of water for the throat. So I hang up the phone, and after a while I called back and said, Mom, now I've been drinking 3 liters water. I can get it anymore. And she went, what? You can't drink that much. But that was like black and white. That was how my brain worked. And now I learned to a little bit see between my fingers about those things. And it's hard as a coach to know every play like that. There you can see like the goalie coaches, how long they can, but they have like 1 or 2 guys to work with. And it's so much easier than you're going to be a head coach for 22 players and have a relationship where you're going to say if they're going to play or not. So it's really hard to get to know the player that well you want to know them.
And how many players at age 15 know themselves who they are and can express it?
No. And you know, the brain
they're trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to learn, and there's like the environment can shape them too, hopefully. And that's why the choice of where you're gonna have your education so important for you to say, what do I need to become the best? Is it safety net? Yes, because I'm a guy who do everything by the book outside. I need an environment to like maybe have a little bit more creative, or in an organization who are really strict in everything, and yes, then I'm going to be a box.
Yeah.
So it's
so let's go there for a second, because I think that this is another area that's been pretty apparent to me, is that whether we like it or not, there are very, very different. It's not a level playing field in junior hockey in Sweden, even within the same division. So J18 region, which is the top division of J18, there's a big difference between Club A, Club B, and Club C when it comes to facilities, coaching staff numbers, and coaching education. And that all comes down to money. And money is a big deal, right? But what's the big difference between the different organizations that you see at the junior level?
It's hard to say because it changed a lot. But you see, if you are from an SHL club, you have a lot more money, and you
have very nice facilities.
Yeah, that's for sure. Then you have some clubs in Allsvenskan who can compete with the SHL clubs in some way. Maybe not in staff, how many staff you have, but you have the facilities, and you have like good people, but not the same level as SHL teams. And then you have the bottom like Allsvenskan teams who their J20 are not even close. They don't have the facilities or nothing, or the best players from their club go to the big clubs when they're juniors. So
Yeah, and I mean, and if you're the top player, why would you go to, why in the world would you choose one of the second tier clubs if you have the opportunity, if you're good enough to play at the top level where and the other part is, all right, financially, they're going to fix a place for you to stay. You may not have to pay for your equipment versus over here, you have to find your own place. And by the way, we don't have any stick deals.
Yeah.
Right.
And
but when you go and play, this player is going to play that player who has those facilities. I'm not saying that just because you didn't get that you have to go and buy your own stick doesn't mean that you're a better or worse player. But I think that from a recruitment standpoint, the 15, 16-year-old that is leaving home and you are the top prospect out there, where are you going to choose is going to be the place that you're not going to choose the second tier place.
Not many players will do that. No, that's for sure. It's like a parents, if you have to pay for the like apartment and the equipment and the sticks, and the club takes some pay for the season or something like that, compared to pay your club membership for 300 crowns or something, and you have to pay maybe half your apartment. So then it's a pretty big difference, and then the difference between players will change right away when you have those numbers as well.
Yeah. But then the question then comes to at the top echelon, then the 23. Let's go back to that right quick about the 23 NIUs that are together. I mean, they're competing. They should have the same type of. There's a big difference between the SHL club that plays at J18 or J20 Elite versus that plays in the NIU and the one that has a Division II team that also plays at the J18 region level, right? But if you compare let's take Frölunda, Rögle, HV71, Örebro. Yep. All of them are playing. They have similar facilities, right? They're all NIUs, but so they're all competing for the talent out there every year.
Yeah, but
here it is now. You are if you're the number one recruit.
Yeah.
Right, versus the number. How many guys are they accepting every year? 15.
It's 14. It's like the top number. So, but normally to the guys, if I'm gonna make a tip to the guys who fill the places, so never put in 14. Because you work with humans, something will happen all the time. So you have to have some space to do something different. It's
wiggle room. So, but if you're the 14th guy versus the number one guy, if you're the number one guy, you could have also been the number one guy at the other teams because you were probably already invited and probably been recruited at 5 different places.
Definitely.
But if you're the number 14, you're probably not recruited by all of them.
Nope.
And the question is going to be, where are you better off? What's the right place for you? Especially, you may be a talent that is, later developing physically, right?
If it was my son or daughter who was in that position, you have to look what kind of individual person do I have to deal with? What is, and then it's like, where is maybe when you're at that age, you have been in camps and today, and you have the phones, social media and stuff like that, everyone knows each other in one way. It's to find maybe a guy who is good for you. It's like when you talk about in sales, or when you're gonna find someone who you like to be with, enjoying, and something you can be a buddy, like, and competing guy, and at the same time be at your team, like, to get an environment where the son is wanting to give it all, like for the dream, and then you have to like it, you have to enjoy life, and
you want to be with people that you enjoy being with, that you jive with as a personality, and
or that good, you have, like, you can choose where, or that environment, where should that be. That's the plus to be that kind of player, instead of number 14, where you maybe you get a little spot to get that environment to that I can be good, and then you have to be a little bit more luck, like, to where I'm going, and maybe your luck could be like the number 1 guy, he's that good, so he go up to the men's team, and your development goes fast, and then you take his spot, because one spot getting open, you get a spot much more higher in the team. So you can't say where that spot is. It's will be we call it tillfälligheter. I don't know.
Circumstances, or
and you can't steer them.
Yeah.
It's like,
so if you had pixie dust, you have the ability to change one thing or a couple of things of the Swedish system. What would that be?
One thing was pretty now in the Swedish paper, it was like an interview, like, because we lost like semi-final, lost the bronze game, like in the junior, and it was talked about, okay, Sweden have played, I don't know, it was like 20 games, and we have only won 2 of those. Sweden have won. So what's wrong? Why can't we win? And then you talking about competing. I had a moment like that, and how you could change it, and there we have a little bit problem in Sweden, is that, like, we talk about compete, but I don't think it's the competing in games. It's like competing in big games. It's one game. You have to be the best at that game. And for someone, and I think like in Canada and US, it's more natural, like those kind of games. They have been like, you have get from early age, you go like, or a AAA player or AA or stuff like that. You have that, you have to compete for a spot on a team all the time. They used to compete, and we're not used to that in the same what do you call it, amount. But we need to create more of that competing games. When you, like, and I had, when I was in MODO, I was for a year 18 team. I think we had the born 99 guys.
Okay.
And there was a group who were like that, what do you call it, a little bit of svärmors dröm. I don't know the English word for that. But
mother-in-law's dream.
Yeah. They were doing everything you said, but a little bit like careful about everything. They didn't want to do anyone any hurt or something like that. But good group, practice really good. But and we have pretty good success with him. We played the semi-final in the junior with the 18 team, and both the semi-final and the bronze game, I think we lost 1-3 or something, both games. And both games we lost in the first period because we was a little bit felt how the game will go.
A little hesitant.
Yeah, and we were down under right away. And those kind of games are really hard to come up from 0-2. It's not easy to turn around those games. So I had worked with the same guys the next year. When
what year was this?
I don't have the.
I'm just interested in kind of looking at personalities on that roster because you've coached some pretty high profile players, but
then the next year when they was the second year of the A18, you have some guys went up to the A20 and some guys was down in the A18. But then our born 0-0 came into the team, and they have totally different mindset. They want to be the shit, and in that time it was tough from the beginning because the Born 99 didn't like the small guys who came, who was a little bit cocky and competing and want to be the guy. But the longer the season went, they got the best from each other. Like the Born 99 they had to be more cocky, and the Born 0 had to adjust to the 99ers. And then we came, and because of the year before when we were like in the semi-final, when we came to the semi-final this year, we had learned from the year before, okay, guys, we can't sit and look at the other team, what they are doing. We have to be the guy who take the command. And if we want to win, we have to be ready when the puck drops, and be a little bit cocky. And that year, the Born 99 players, they won the A18, and lots of guys played the A20, and they won the A20 as well. So we were the first team who won both A18 and A20 the same year.
And what you're saying is that it wasn't necessarily the coaching.
Nope. Because the funny thing is that because you play the same day, J18 and J20, like we had played the final in the morning in Saturday, and the semi-final was on Saturday at the evening. So I got ordered you can't play the best player hard. You have to just roll. So I had to go on forward line as much as possible. I couldn't play the best players the first power play and stuff like that. And that's the final in Swedish Championship. But the guy was the compete level. They learned so much from the year before to that year. What they needed to do to win games, especially those kind of games. And that's the thing I think Swedish hockey need to do more. Get that education of playing those kind of games. But if you drop from lots of guys who play in the World Juniors, maybe they play in the juniors and then they go up to their senior team, and the senior team doesn't play those kind of games either, or they are a player in the team, so they can't go down and play those kind of games. So the more that kind of games you can play, you're gonna be better at that type of games. And I think we are not used to it. That's the problem. Why?
Yeah.
And the juniors, you only play it once or twice.
Yeah.
So you don't have that much practice from those players at that level.
Well, and let me ask you this. So out of a group of so let's say you now have a hockey gymnasium group.
Yep.
right? And out of those, it's natural. They're fragmented, meaning that this group may not all be. So if you're first year versus second year and third year, they're not always playing together, and they're not always practicing together, because these guys practice with the J20s, and out of those, two guys practice with the men's team, and so the compete level in every practice may not be as, if you had the ability to have had that entire team,
yeah,
the compete level in the practice may be much higher.
Definitely.
And you go back, you use the example of Marcus Naslund and Peter Forsberg. I guarantee you, it's kind of mimicking the street hockey game or the pond hockey game when nobody wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And they competed hard in practice.
And there you have like one thing who MODO has that not many other hockey gymnasium in Sweden has, like, because MODO was early hockey gymnasium, like before NIO it was only 4 in Sweden.
Yeah.
And so we have a long culture about every age group practice together in the mornings, not like J18 or J20. Lots of teams nowadays they practice in the morning as well, J18 or J20.
Yeah.
But now it's like, who could be is that when you're the same age in like the morning, and like you said, the lowest ranked guy in your age group can compete with the number 1 guy who could be a really, really good player, and he wants to show I'm as good as you, then the compete level moves up, because you have that environment in the group, and that you can't get if you only have your J18 or your J20 team.
Yeah. So it sounds like what I, tell me if I'm wrong with a takeaway from this, and that is, if I'm the most important part is for me to be looking inward to know who I am, first of all, and find a place that is going to fit me where I can be developed. But more importantly, I'm placed in a competitive environment with others that are similar or maybe a little bit better, but it's going to be you're going to compete every day in practice. The higher likelihood that you're going to have success is going to be there, rather than you're going to be the best player on the ice all the time, or I'm going to be the worst player on the ice. It's the most important part is that no matter what rank you are, is the compete level wherever you're placed.
That's in one way, yeah, but at the same time, it's like to find, you have, if it depends what kind of player you are as well. Like if you are a guy who want to make lots of points, then you have to make lots of points. Then you have to play the power play. You have to do to get your best out of it.
Yeah.
But it depends how you can stay if you have the really, really good environment. But maybe, as you say, I come in and I'm number 1 in my team, and I go and I'm number 7, 8. I'm not the first power play, maybe the second. That's not good for a couple of years. But if I can get something else who I need a lot for 1 or 2 years, it could be really good, because then I can change the one. I got the best what I need, but now I need to play. I need to be the best player, but then you get the, like you said, your culture of how you practice, how you do things, and so you have got something with you. But play is, you have to play to be the best creative player. So if you can get both of the worlds, but that's not many players who can get that. But that will be the best. And
Well, we're not going to solve all the problems of the Swedish Hockey Federation today.
No.
But if we could have more say so, we would be much better off, right?
Hopefully. Something, maybe I'm not right, but I think I have given some thoughts about that, what you could do or what we need more to develop, because that's the thing everyone wants, but in some way it's the mentality is it's not a little thing, it's the big thing if you're going to succeed on the highest level. And you can, I saw a documentary about Ingmar Stenmark, and it's all about where he lived, close to where he could ski. He had his best friend Stig Strand, who was the neighbor, and he was out, I go out. They practice, they compete, and everything. You have that environment, and that's what you need. And last of all, today, and that's, I'm sorry to say, but if you don't have the right home, if you don't have the parents who wants to drive you, do everything every weekend, every day, so you can fulfill your potential, then you don't have any chance at all.
And it didn't hurt either that he had a winner's mentality. I don't know if you saw the episode of Mästarnas Mästarna, when he was standing in front of the wall, and nobody was watching, but he was determined he was going to be able to jump over the wall or jump up on it.
And that's what he have developed under his childhood, like how to do it, and that's what it is. If you find that and have some, and that's why if you look at players, so many like the small brothers who are going to be good because they have like the big brother who they have been with the parents, looked at lots of hockey, they compete at home, they get beaten, so they are pretty tough mentally as well, and
well, it's just like a plant, right? Plant or seeds have to be planted in the right soil, in the right environment. It has to have certain kinds of fundamental parts about the seed, but so much of it, it's the environment that they're placed in, and then the rest of it is watering and sun and tending to that soil.
Yeah,
and I think the same thing is, how do you grow a hockey player, is the same way, right?
Yeah, but it's like everything in life. What do you have around you? And if you have parents who have knowledge and are like have know the business, how it works, your chances will grow a lot.
Well, that's the part that we try to help with here, is educate, inform, and hopefully entertain a little bit. Thank you for being a second guest, first person that has been a repeat invite here, and I appreciate the conversation and just the ability to kind of talk about junior hockey and Sweden versus the US, and hopefully you got some stuff out of it. Thanks again, Urban, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, and I hope everyone listening had something to say.
Yeah.